Wanted to get into this conversation a little bit. It's hard to believe that on Saturday, Reg's favorite time of the year is back, and that's college football. And college football back in a big way. We've seen a bunch of money being thrown around for the Big Ten as they have secured a new media rights deal. And the movement in college football, NILs all over the place. One of my favorite ones I just saw the other day, DeColdis Crawford signing a deal with
the HVAC company. Yeah.
It's like, yep, on brand there. But what's going to be taking place on the actual field is going to be fascinating to watch. And this conversation is inspired by one of my favorite college football writers, Spencer Hall of ESPN, who does incredible work.
And Channel 6 in the Shutdown Fullcast.
Mm-hmm. And some of the more intriguing old faces in new places this college football year, and not lost among the big names. I think people forgot like some of the biggest names in college football, head coaching wise, moving to different places, namely Lincoln Riley going to USC and him leaving Oklahoma now for the sunny skies of Los Angeles and trying to revive that program out in Southern California. Because I think when USC is good, college football is much better. It's one of those landmark programs that gets the juices of college football flowing the way that they do. It can only be done by the success of the University of Southern California.
Yeah, one of the things that it does when USC is good is that it helps make that college football day go longer. And the reason I say that is like good Pac-12 games really do work in that later schedule, right? Having that Pac-12 after dark and having those games be really entertaining. And that's not shade intended at Utah, that's built themselves into a nice program. But Utah just it doesn't have the same appeal as widely as if you have a good USC team. People will tune in for a USC team. Some of that is like USC is just for the longest time has been the football team of Hollywood or of LA. So, having that when they're good, it really draws eyes in a way that Utah doesn't, even if they have that number next to them, that top 25 ranking. So I think that more than anything will help them out. But the Pac-12 is not a particularly strong conference right now. Again, I guess I'm being really mean to Utah because I'm kind of shading them as they have built themselves a nice little program there. But I don't think that it's really tough for them. And Lincoln Riley, I know OU fans, y'all mad, but like he's done a good job of bringing in talent. Like even folks like Jordan Addison, who was at Pittsburgh last year with Kenny Pickett, transferred in. Like they got a lot of transfers in. Caleb Williams came with them from Oklahoma. Like they've got a lot of talent, and of course there's going to be time to put that together. And I don't think that they will be within that realm of contending for a title necessarily, but I do think that they'll have an opportunity to be a good and maybe exciting team. And if that's the case, that's all I'm looking for. I'm looking for a team that will give me a little bit of excitement later in my college football watching Saturdays in that later slate. From the 214 Stanford, Oregon. If you heard what I said about making the Pac-12 games more exciting and you responded with Stanford, we might just be on a different plane. We might. Also, like Stanford as a program, they kind of give you the same thing over and over, but that's not always a good thing. Like they are really predictable to the point where like David Shaw has that job in part because some of the tough or the hurdles to clear as a Stanford, like at Stanford, when it comes to academic requirements and something, being able to operate with those is not something that everybody wants to do. David Shaw's 100% cool with it, and they're cool with him being there and existing at the level that they are. I don't think that David Shaw is bringing you anything new or innovative, and I think that's what would be necessary to take Stanford to higher heights. But that was not what we were supposed to be talking about. We were supposed to be talking about the new faces, or the new faces, or old faces in new places. That's what you said.
A new face in a new place, though. I mean, this is one I'm really intrigued by, and it's obviously here in the state of Texas with Joey McGuire taking over at Texas Tech. Former Texas high school football coach, getting now to run his program at Texas Tech. The excitement that he is generating for the Red Raiders seems to be very real for them in Lubbock. So I'm very interested to see how they manage themselves in the Big 12 this year, where Baylor got a great program with Dave Aranda now taking over and winning things, in the Big 12 championship game over Oklahoma State. So, yeah, Joey McGuire is very intriguing for what he's got going with the Red Raiders.
Yeah, this is a really good hire for for Texas Tech, and Joey McGuire was previously with Baylor. David Random made a great hire as a dude who was coming in as a defensive coordinator of LSU previously, came into Baylor and understood if you're going to exist in Texas, you need to learn how to recruit Texas high schools. And really, in order to recruit Texas high school coaches are a very particular bunch. They view themselves highly. You got to have one of them to speak to them, and Joey McGuire is one of them. Almost in the line of Jeff Traylor at UTSA was a former, Texas high school football coach. You need a guy who has clicked in with all of these high school coaches, and Joey McGuire is absolutely that. And he helped Baylor do a good job there. He's going to do a great job at Tech, really helping them recruit locally, which is going to be tougher as you have Texas now moving to the SEC with A&M, and that's going to just further make it easier for teams to come in and poach Texas. So if you can recruit Texas well, and maybe even not all at the top of Texas, but into the middle realms of maybe, your 3 stars and maybe even down to 2 stars that have upside, those types of things, I think that Joey McGuire will help them do that. And if you get in talent, I think that's a big part of this. I believe that I haven't seen him as a head coach because he hasn't been that. This is his first full head coach job where he's, over the top of it. But I'm interested in seeing, I know that he'll be able to get the talent, so I'm interested in seeing how he's able to assemble those pieces that I think will be better for Tech.
One of the worst kept secrets in all of college football last year was the fact that Sonny Dykes was leaving SMU to go to TCU, which is exactly what he did after leading, has a career record of 71-63, and of course most recently at SMU. He takes over for Gary Patterson at TCU with the Horned Frogs. Again, another intriguing hire within the Big 12, among several intriguing ones, including, of course, Brent Venables coming home to Oklahoma. That was one of my favorite hires of this college football past offseason, was the fact that he got to go back to the place where he was a longtime assistant coach and defensive coordinator under Bob Stoops.
Defense back at Oklahoma, y'all.
And Brent Venables identifies with Oklahoma, and Oklahoma loves him some Brent Venables. Like, it was a perfect marriage for these two. Of course, he was a longtime defensive coordinator at Clemson as well, helping Dabo Swinney.
Yeah, that's going to be funny to see, or fun to see if how Clemson manages that, because they lost both their coordinators.
That's right, Tony Elliott taking over at Virginia.
But anyways, we're not here to talk about Clemson. We're talking about Oklahoma right now, and I'm really interested in what Brent Venables does, because he's been so good at coaching defense. He's the guy that coaches defense, and I don't think that the Oklahoma has really put together a good defense since he's been there. So it's going to be, I hope and I eagerly anticipate a return to being able to play capable defense at Oklahoma, because I think they'll still be able to recruit well and recruit nationally. And I think that with that being the case, if you can get the offense that Oklahoma typically brings and some Brent Venables defense, all right, now we talk about Oklahoma in a real way and not as a team that will sneak into that Final Four but then not really play like they are the big boys. Although, to be fair, that's the nature of college football. When you get there's only ever really 2 teams, maybe sometimes 3 teams max, that are really, really in this.
We were talking about how we know that the health of college football is really good when USC is good. It's also really good when Miami is good. And I am wildly fascinated by the hire that they made by hiring Mario Cristobal.
Native son.
Yeah, poaching him from Oregon. He goes down there and takes over. And apparently they believe in him because they are investing money into the program. Like, they are getting behind the Mario Cristobal experience. And I think when Miami is really good, again, college football is also good, because one of the best rivalries in college football throughout the past, 30 years was Florida State and Miami.
Florida is down bad as a state, as a record label, and as a crew. Yeah, Miami. The interesting thing for me about Miami isn't even Mario Cristobal. He feels like a known commodity to me. He runs a good program, native son. He can, establish culture. I'm interested in Miami is good when Miami invests in the program. And even then, they haven't been great in investing in the program, right? The U, when it was the U, they didn't even keep head coaches around because the institution didn't want to pay those guys once it was really evident that they did great work and you would have to compensate them as such. They'd be like, yeah, no, let's go get another head coach. But with the institution of new rules and name, image, and likeness deals being allowed now in the NCAA, the booster class or whatever you would like to call them can sidestep the actual program and the school and be like, well, if y'all don't want to invest, we'll invest. And Miami,
they got some big money donors too.
Miami's just a hilarious place when it comes to money because not a lot of it's real, but there's a lot of it though. So and I feel like maybe that doesn't make sense for folks, but it should, right?
Well, when their alum gets behind them, they are in, like the Michael Irvins of the world, the Dwayne The Rock Johnsons of the world.
Oh, we're not talking about them. We talking about like real money.
No, I'm just saying like the visibility.
Yeah, that's visibility. That's cool.
All
right,
that
like
comes,
that's the cool factor that they'll have on the
Yes.
field. I'm talking about the money. And the money is showing up for these dudes like they have a payroll. And that will be the interesting portion for Miami, giving Mario Cristobal, a dude who we know can run a program, in excess of talent. That'd be fun, especially in the ACC that's not all that inspiring ever, really. And with, again, going back to Clemson, a Clemson that has lost some of the foundation that made them so sturdy over years.
Last couple that are very intriguing. Florida with the hire of Billy Napier coming over from the Raging Cajuns, posted a 40-12 record and only lost 2 games over the total of the last 2 seasons. He was at the school. So
yeah, that's
intriguing hire there, especially in the SEC East, where, of course, Georgia's the reigning national champions in college football.
And they're going to still be whooping them on Florida. It's going to take some time.
Yeah, it's going to take some time.
He didn't come in with a great recruiting class either. So it was a little frustrating, I know, for Florida fans who've just been waiting for the time to get back. But he's a team builder. He did it at Louisiana, or ULA, if you want to call it that, even though they don't like you to do that.
Yeah,
but
don't do that.
No, it's going to take some time, especially because they didn't hit the ground running necessarily. So I think it'll be a little bit of a slow burn. But you give him a little time, and it might get cooking.
And last couple that affected each of these schools, Notre Dame's Marcus Freeman taking over for Brian Kelly, who left to go to LSU.
They love that dude there.
Oh, boy.
Some players love Marcus Freeman.
Oh, man. And they should. He feels like a guy that's a player's coach and is going to do well there, I think. But Brian Kelly, in that experience, going to LSU, oh, boy.
Everything's at your disposal.
I can't wait to watch Alabama and LSU play each other this year.
I don't think this year, but next year I'm ready for Brian Kelly to show me what you got. Like, I know you're a capable coach. People don't necessarily love you, which will be an interesting portion of that because LSU, in some ways like Texas and in some ways bigger than Texas, you're the real governor of the state. Like, you got the governor and then you got the real governor, and that's the head coach of LSU. So will he be able to manage that portion of it? But when it comes down to the football, you have all the geography and you will get talent. Now what you do with it. That's what I want to see. Because Brian Kelly at Notre Dame, you might have some excuses for not winning. LSU ain't going to give you none of those.
Me and my family.
Okay. I was waiting for you to do it. I knew you was going to do it, too.
Going to LSU.